guys, welcome to Officially Reads. My name is Phoebe and today I'm going to be sharing with you the series that I most want to get to this year. So there's only 4 series in this video that I'm going to be sharing with you, but between all of them, I have 29 books to read if I want to finish them all this year. So I am definitely thinking that 4 will be enough for me. Also, just so you know, I've actually started all of these at some point in time, but for whatever reason, I've either stopped reading it or I just haven't moved on to the next book quite yet because I read them recently, or started them recently rather. So I will just jump right in and share with you the top 4 series that I plan on reading this year. The first series is A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. So this is a very popular series, especially in the fantasy realm, or people who really love really epic shows and want to read the series that go along with it. And I have all these books. I actually got this book from my dad back in the day, and he never read it. So I was like, you know what, I want to start reading it. I actually got 293 pages in, and for whatever reason I stopped it, but I also have the audiobook as well. So what I'm going to be doing, and this is my plan anyway, is read along with this with the audiobook to kind of get the flow of the first book, and then depending on how I feel, just going on with the rest of the books that I currently own. I got this one from Barnes & Noble, I think, I don't even know how many years ago, but the other books that I got all were from secondhand stores because the series is so popular. So I have them all. I have all the published works so far. I just have not gotten further than less than 300 pages of this book. So I'm hoping to get to this soon, but this is not necessarily the first one that I'm going to be getting to this year. Next is another very popular fantasy series, and that is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. And I actually have read this book as well as the prequel. So the order in which I actually started reading this was the prequel novellas, and then I read this book, and I'm really glad I read it in that order. I saw a lot of people suggesting it reading in that particular order, so that's kind of the way I went. And I actually do have the official second book in this series as well on my shelves. This is actually the series that I think I'm going to get to the soonest, so I'm hoping to start this next month sometime, so in about like a week or so. I'm also planning on vlogging the whole experience of reading the whole series. So like I said, I have technically the first 3 books in my possession. However, I think the later books I'm gonna get on ebook and borrow from my library, or maybe depending on how I'm feeling, I might borrow the physical copies from my library as well, just because I'm not trying to add any more to my bookshelves physically unless I really love the books. So if I decide that after the first 2 or 3 that I'm really loving them, I might get the rest of the series to own as well. But yeah, I actually do really like the series. It's quite fun so far, but I heard it just gets better as it goes on, so I'm really hoping that that is the case for me, in my opinion. But this one I think I'm going to try to get to in February of this year. This story follows a assassin named Selena, and she is entered into a competition, like a royal competition, to be specifically the king's assassin of this country to help fight for her freedom. So basically, if she wins this competition, she will serve the king for an X amount of number of years and will be a free woman because of some things that she has in her past. She has a lot of stuff stacked against her, but she is apparently the best assassin for miles and miles around. And this series, like I said, is pretty good, and I'm really hoping that I enjoy the later installments of the series, and I cannot wait to vlog it and share it with you guys. The next series that I hope to read this year is the Tiger's Curse series, and this one is by Colleen Houck. And honestly, I read this probably 2 years ago, or maybe at the very beginning of 2021, I'm not really sure, but I really love this book. I just didn't have the second one, and for whatever reason, I really love these covers. They're so beautiful. I really love the Indian aspects of this story. I think it's a culture that I definitely don't know much about, and it's just such a rich culture that I think this is a really fun way to kind of start diving in and learning a little bit more about the country and their customs. And I love the adventure aspect of all of this. We're traveling to India in parts of this book, and it's just really cool, and it was a very fun read for me, and I definitely am looking forward to the next installments. I don't know what it is, but I definitely have a thing for books that have some kind of shape shifter in it. So basically, the main character of this book encounters a royal prince who ends up being cursed to turn into a tiger. So he's a tiger for most of the day, and then he has just a very finite amount of time where he can be human, and it kind of starts off from there. And I just really enjoyed this, and because this is the shorter of the series that I want to read, I'm probably going to read this after Throne of Glass, that whole series, but this is just a really fun read, and I definitely cannot wait to finish the rest of the books. And lastly, the series that I started the longest time ago, actually back in probably 2005 or 2006 when this was first published, and this is the Ranger's Apprentice series. And I started reading this actually after my dad read the first book and recommended it to me. He's like, Phoebe, it's so much fun. And at the time I really didn't like reading at all, but this book was genuinely so much fun, and I think I read up to the third book in the series and never got around to finishing it, and it definitely wasn't finished, like the series as a whole, when I was reading the books. They were coming out every couple of years, and at the time I wasn't an avid reader at all, like I said, so I wasn't looking forward necessarily to each book coming out. Like I didn't have it on my calendar or anything, but now that I'm older, I just come back to wanting to read this so badly and finally finishing the story. So this follows a young orphan who is named Will, and he, at a certain point in the orphanage's age groups, I guess, they are all sent out to have apprenticeships, and he really wants to be a prince, as most young boys in medieval times do, and he is not selected to be a prince because he's considered to be too small, not quite strong enough, not necessarily quite smart enough, which is really unfortunate because that's not necessarily the case. But then he gets an apprenticeship with the Rangers, which is kind of like, I don't know, like the special services, the special forces almost, because they're just very clever. And I really like the friendships in this book as well, where you see one of the characters start off as his nemesis, but then he definitely becomes a genuine friend later on in the books. And I just love that, how just because you are in some sort of competition with someone doesn't mean that they have to be your enemy for all of time, and you can actually be really close friends with them. So anyways, I really love this series. I think this one has technically the most books in the series, but since it's middle grade, most of them are pretty short, so I probably can get through this relatively quickly. We'll see, because I'm not a fast reader, but definitely I'm prioritizing reading a lot more this year. So I don't know when I'm going to get to the series, but I am definitely going to finish it this year. All four of these I'm really determined to finish this year. So I guess that's going to be kind of like one series a quarter. That's kind of, I guess, the goal that I can set for myself. Since there are 4 series, I can have 3 months to finish all 4 of them each. So anyways, that is it for my little video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any series that you're really hoping to get to this year, please share it with me, because I love series. I find that I read the most when I read series. So if you have a really good one that you want to suggest to me, or you just want to share what you are reading this year too, just leave it in the comments below, and I cannot wait to see you guys in my next video. Bye!